Hello and welcome to a early Saturday afternoon, it's close to 5 o'clock episode of Dylan Knows. This is the first of two episodes I'll be doing today. My second one will be my usual time later tonight, 9:30, 10 o'clock-ish, depending on when I get around to it. But I figured I may as well. I got some time. I have two episodes I wanted to do today, so I'm going to do it right now. Do this one right now. This one's going to be a quick, easy one, but it's a better late than never one. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Just never got around to getting like the magazines and the previews of what summer movies are coming out this summer. So I finally got a list of stuff. So I'm just going to go over those real quick, give you my hot take on it, I guess is the proper term for it. And then that'll be it. And then you can come back here again in about, let's see, it's 5 o'clock, about 4.5 hours, and I should be back with a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, bigger and longer and uncut as well. So real quick, what is it? What do I want to say? Oh, I don't remember what I want to say. Anyway, since the summer movies season used to start around Memorial Day, and then back in the 90s, when Twister first came out in early May, that became the now go-to beginning of summer movie system. And then Marvel took it over and pretty much had movies there every beginning weekend of May. But until that point, there was some other stuff as well, too. And then Avengers Endgame has pushed it slightly back to the end of April. I don't think that's going to last for much longer. I think everything else is going to go back to the beginning of May for that. So I may be a little late, but enough's enough. So I'll go cover the ones that have already come out that maybe you haven't checked out already. Just real quick take on it. Of course, this year's 2019 summer movie preview kicks off with Avengers Endgame. Of course, I've already did 2 reviews of it. My spoiler-free one the weekend I saw it, and then my spoiler-filled one the weekend after I saw it. Go back and check my last few episodes of Dylan Knows if you want to hear my take on Avengers Endgame. Also, Detective Pikachu, another movie I reviewed last weekend, came out came out last weekend, so I reviewed that last weekend. Definitely, that one's worth a check out. Both Avengers Endgame and Detective Pikachu are both ones to check out. Those are pretty much a given for the most part, but here's a few you might not known about. Palms is one that came out before. Diane Keaton is continuing her fun times of acting in her golden years as she appears as a part of a group of a bunch of older ladies who want to compete in a cheerleading competition against the younger girls. Pretty much self-explanatory. You know, the older girls go to this cheerleading competition. The younger girls look at them like they're freaks, and the older ladies probably teach them a lesson. So we got that covered. Tolkien, Nicholas Hoult, the biopic about J.R.R. Tolkien. I think there have been some issues with the liberties that's been taken, but with most biopics, there usually is a liberties being taken with that as well. The Hustle, which I hadn't heard a single thing about or even knew it was out, but came out apparently early May. Remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson, which actually sounds like a really good combination. But as I said, I haven't seen any commercials or heard about it or read any reviews, so I have no idea. I mean, it should be out. I mean, that's what they said, so I don't know. This weekend, obviously, the big one this weekend is John Wick 3, Chapter 3. Keanu is back in his next series of stuff. It's actually fun to watch his career progress from Theodore Logan in the Bill and Ted movies to his Speed character to The Matrix to John Wick, and co-stars Halle Berry, Lawrence Fishburne, and continues the John Wick saga. It has overthrown Avengers Endgame this weekend for top movie of the week, as expected. At this point, Avengers Endgame has been out for 3 weeks, so it's basically been enough time. A Dog's Journey, which was a sequel to A Dog's Purpose, which is a really neat movie that I haven't seen, but it sounded really interesting. Stars Dennis Quaid, but basically it follows a dog who dies and is reborn over and over again, and different dogs, and he goes and explores and hangs out with other people, and then dies again and is reborn again and keeps living for years until he finds his way back to his first owner and stays there. And now the sequel follows him being with his young owner, and the young owner knowing what's going on, and knowing the dog is going to reincarnate again once he dies, but he wants the dog to keep an eye on his granddaughter, who is, I think, the parents are not allowing their grandparents to see their grandchild. And so he says, if you can find, when you reincarnate, you can find her, keep an eye on her. And of course he does. So he reincarnates as a dog again and is able to find the granddaughter and hang out with her for a little bit. And then he dies again and is reincarnated and finds the granddaughter who's older. And there's some other things that happen in there as well. So it sounds cute. And this one is supposedly supposed to be out this week, but I really haven't seen anything about it. The Sun is Also a Star. I saw a preview of it when I saw Detective Pikachu. It's before sunrise for the teen set. If you've never seen Before Sunrise, it's a movie you should totally go see and watch. And it's basically, the premise is two strangers meet on a train, get off in Vienna, and just spend the whole night talking and falling in love. And that's basically kind of what happens here, with a little bit different take. It follows two teenagers, maybe like 18-year-old, 19-year-old people who meet cute, and then they decide to, walk around and spend some time together. But the woman is trying to save her parents from being deported. So kind of a bit more dark than Before Sunrise was, but still, that's good. So that's stuff that came out this week. Next week, the big one is the first of two Disney live-action remakes. This one's Aladdin, directed by Guy Ritchie, with Will Smith, who portrays the genie, and a host of actual Arab actors, which is good that you're able to get them to do that. But I've seen the first trailer I saw for it, was not impressed by it. Second trailer looks a little bit better, but in essence, it's still just basically a shot-for-shot remake of an animated film, and I really have no desire to see it. But it should make a lot of money because people are drawn to that type of stuff, I guess, and you go ahead and enjoy it if you like to. This is an interesting sounding film, Brightburn, which is a horror film thriller, which tells you the what if Superman went bad. Basically, it's tale of a baby from outer space who crash lands and has powers as a baby and is raised by a loving couple. But instead of being kind and gentle like Superman is, the baby becomes cruel and unusual and uses his superpowers to attack and kill people. Elizabeth Banks is in this movie as well. It looks interesting, a different take on things, a way to see something different, maybe a what do you call it? A little nudge, nudge, wink, wink, wink to the superhero genre, a different take on it, which is always good to see. Where the superhero is not always a superhero. So that's pretty good. May 31st. Funnily enough, May 24th is Labor Day weekend, but May 31st has a couple of big ones. It's got Godzilla, King of Monsters, Vera Farmiga, Kyle Chandler, Ken Watanabe, and the girl who plays 11 on Stranger Things is in this as well. You get all the monsters, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Rodan, all that, fighting against Godzilla and doing all kinds of stuff. It looks good. It actually looks pretty interesting and action-packed. Have to think about if I'm going to see it in the movie theater or just wait for it to be on video. But it definitely looks good and should make bank that weekend. It's going up against Ma, which is a low-budget horror film starring Octavia Spencer, who plays an older woman who helps young high school kids who want to get drunk by getting them alcohol, but then invites them over to her house to party hardy. And she seems like a cool person, but we learn later on that it's all a scam. She's picked these students particularly because of something that their parents did to her family, and she's getting her revenge on them. So it's a scary kind of horror film. That should make bank pretty good too, I think. And then Rocket Man, the biopic starring Taylor Edgerton as Elton John. That looks interesting as well. It's an interesting take, releasing it in the summer. I would have thought that they might have wanted to wait till the fall when the Oscar bait movies come out, and this is definitely going to be Oscar bait, and I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor Egerton gets a nomination and the film might be nominated down the line. So we'll see what happens. It looks interesting. I've always liked Elton John. Elton John has given it his full thumbs up since he's still alive. Usually a lot of times biopics are done about people who are passed away, and they don't really have to say anything. The family might, but the person that they're doing the stuff, it usually doesn't. This case, Elton John is giving the thumbs up about it and has actually had Taylor Egerton come on concert with him and do a couple of numbers with him. So Taylor apparently can sing, so should look good. Though I'm still kind of surprised about it being released in the summer because I think it might get overlooked, and I think it probably should have been released maybe in October or November. But I guess maybe they're anticipating a big amount of stuff coming out around that time. Which hopefully, what I'll do is I might try and make this a quarterly thing to give me a little extra cushion from my episodes, because there are going to be some times where I just can't get an episode done for weekend, but I want to try to keep on pace to have one at least once a week. Whereas if I do 2 in 1 week, if I'm missing a week, you can just take that episode and it lines up perfectly with everything to line things up. That's just how anal I am about stuff. So maybe I'll do a fall preview as well, fall/winter preview as well. Because I know Star Wars is coming out and Frozen 2 and what's a scary Halloween type of movie thing coming out too. I don't remember. But some good stuff coming up this fall as well. So I might take a look at that. Plus fall is my favorite season, so why not do a fall movie preview as well? So do a fall and a summer movie preview. Maybe I'm going to try to do that as a regular thing. But I digress. Now that takes us into June. June 7th is X-Men Dark Phoenix, potentially the last one under the Fox banner before Disney reboots the whole series, which they've already said they're going to do. This one has the cast that's been doing it since the X-Men First Class. That's what it was. They've done like 3. It's like X-Men First Class, the Days of Future Past. Then it was like, didn't they do the one about Apocalypse? And now it's this one, and maybe I'm missing one in there as well. But this ends that series, and we'll see what happens with that. Looks okay. I haven't been following the Fox X-Men series that closely, so I couldn't tell you what's going on with it. I know one of the characters from Game of Thrones is Jean Grey, so there's always that. And I think Jennifer Lawrence is in it also, because she's always played Mystique in the new series of it stuff. And I know the same actors, Jane McAvoy and what's his face, who plays Magneto, are all back for this one round again. So that one's coming out. I don't expect that to do as well as the Marvel movies, because they really haven't done as well as the Marvel movies. But still, there are people out there who still enjoy those X-Men type films, and I don't think Wolverine's in this one. So you won't be able to see Hugh Jackman in it, but you'll be able to see mutants and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. Secret Life of Pets 2. The sequel to the successful Illumination film, continues this story of a group of pets that live in a apartment building and the adventures they go on when their owners are away, sort of a reverse Toy Story a little bit with animals. This one features the first ever voiceover of a hugely famous actor who's starting to have his declining days now. Harrison Ford's first vocal acting performance is in this film. And we'll see what happens about that. And then we have a movie I have heard very little about called Late Night with Emma Thompson and Mindy Kaling. Emma Thompson is a talk show host who the producer decides to go in a different direction, that keeps Emma Thompson on but wants to go a little younger. So they hire a younger writer in Mindy Kaling to spice things up a little bit, and the two of them become friends. So it could be a good alternate movie to watch that. But it's interesting because Emma Thompson is going to be going up against herself again on June 14th, when the big film coming out June 14th, which is one I really, really want to see, is Men in Black International, starring Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, Emma Thompson, Liam Neeson. Directed by F. Gary Gray, who did the fantastic Negotiator movie and also Straight Outta Compton, and he's done a couple other films as well. He might have done one of the Fast and Furious movies or one of these, franchise movies. I think he did a piece of also, but I always remember him from The Negotiator, which is a great movie, and Straight Outta Compton's been really, really good as well. So we have him doing that, and it's not a remake of Men in Black because that's pretty much perfect. It's a offshoot of it. Men in Black International. So you're not going to be involved in New York City. You'll be involved in London, and you get to see Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson reteaming for that. And you can see Aliens again. Might be a different take since Barry Sonnenfeld is not directing it. Might be a different way to look at it, and might be more action oriented, but still looks really, really good. And I potentially thinks it has the ability to make as much money as Jurassic World did. Maybe not as much, but, I think Men in Black International is going to make a lot of money. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on the movie a little bit. I think a lot of people are going to underproject it opening weekend. I think it could be close to 150 to 200 $1 million weekend because people like the Men in Black series. Sure, it might not have Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones in it, but everyone loves Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson and Emma Thompson. And, Liam Neeson is sort of weathered his controversy. So we'll see what happens with that. Also coming out that week, we have Dead Don't Die, Jim Jarmusch's zombie movie. Jim Jarmusch is one of these arty directors, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's an interesting that he's putting his stamp on a zombie film. Stars Bill Murray, who's doing another zombie movie, and Adam Driver are the two main right there. Again, is a zombie movies getting played out a little bit, maybe a little bit, but there really hasn't been anything zombie related in a while. So why not you get that and get Zombieland 2 this year? So maybe they're having a little renaissance. And finally, we have Shaft. 3 years of Shaft, 3 generations of Shaft. Richard Roundtree, who was the original Shaft, plays the father of Samuel L. Jackson's new Shaft. He had a movie come out back in the early 2000s. And now Samuel L. Jackson's son, Jesse T. Usher, also named Shaft, is now getting into the family business. So now you're going to have all 3 Shafts working together. That in and of itself sounds like a really cool idea to see that. So it might be an interesting thing to see. But again, I haven't seen really any trailers for it and a few mentions about it, but nothing too much about it. June 21st, the day after my birthday, first day of summer also, brings Pixar's new movie, Toy Story 4, which I think this time will wrap up the Toy Story saga. I thought Toy Story 3 did a good job of wrapping up the saga, but, there's always room for more, I guess. And this one looks like it is going to be the wrap up, and it looks pretty interesting and brings the return of Bo Peep, who might actually be the bad guy in this movie, and also brings Keanu Reeves and his first sort of voiceover acting. Well, he did do Keanu and he's done other things, but his first really cartoon presence is going to be in this film as well. And it's going to be a Toy Story movie. So it'll make bank also and do really well. And hopefully it'll have the emotional stirrings that the third one did, because that third one just hits you in the feels at the end. And we'll see if that's going to continue with this fourth one. We also have Child's Play, the new updated remake of that with Mark Hamill as the voice of Chucky, and Chucky for a new generation. And so you've got a fake demon-possessed toy taking on a movie about toys that come to life when humans aren't around. So it should be an interesting toyish weekend for the first weekend of summer and the day after my birthday. So pretty cool on that. June 26th brings about Annabelle Comes Home, another film that low budget but makes a lot of money and continues to do really well, about the possessed doll. So you've got Child's Play, and almost a week later you have another possessed doll story. But the main reason why I wanted to do this is because June 28th has a movie that I think of all the movies still out there this summer, with the exception of maybe Men in Black International and maybe Spider-Man, but I think I want to see this movie a little bit more than Spider-Man. Has a movie that is flying under the radar. I don't think it's going to make a lot of money, but it's got a great premise. I love the trailer. I've been playing it over and over again. And if you're a fan of the Beatles, you'll probably like this movie. It's the movie Yesterday. It's directed by Danny Boyle. And basically the premise behind it is such a great premise. A guitar player, Tinesh Patel, I think, a brand new actor who's never really been on the scene before, is, he's a kind of a washed up kind of guitar player, likes playing guitar, but doesn't get any really good gigs. And he's getting ready to give up on his dream when his kind of girlfriend, but who knows, from what we get from the trailers, we don't know if they're actually physically dating or if it's sort of a one thing. Actress Lily James, I believe, is the actress playing that role. Just, I guess, trying to win him over and trying to keep him steady. But one night he's driving his bike home from somewhere when the electricity goes out all over the world. And with all the electricity out, he doesn't see a car, and he gets hit by the car and is put into a coma for a little bit, into the hospital. Wakes up a few days later in the hospital and learns what happened with the accident, and he's okay, and the electricity going out and all that stuff. So his sometime girlfriend, or his wannabe girlfriend, whatever, decides to buy him a new guitar because I guess his old guitar got destroyed in the car accident. Decides to buy him a brand new guitar. So he decides to try it out and sings the song Yesterday by the Beatles to a rapt audience. His sometime girlfriend and a couple other friends, and they're all like looking at him. And then she's like, "When did you write that?" And he's like, "I didn't write that. Paul McCartney wrote that." They're like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "Paul McCartney, the Beatles." They're like, "What?" And then John, Paul, George, and Ringo, the Beatles? No, never heard of them. And he's like, "Whoa, wait a second." And so he goes, investigates, and discovers the Beatles no longer exist in this timeline, or if it's a dream, if he's still in a coma, I don't know what the story is, but the Beatles do not exist. So he is the only one who remembers the Beatles songs. So he starts playing them for people, and they become enamored of the Beatles songs. And soon he becomes the biggest musician in the world. Goes on talk shows, does concerts, high selling records, and is compared as one of the greatest songwriters of all time. And it looks good. The trailer is phenomenal, and I am more stoked about this movie really than any of them, to be honest. Even Men in Black International, I really, really want to see Yesterday, and I think you guys should all go out there and check it out as well, particularly if you like the Beatles, because this guy sings really good, according to the trailer, and it just looks cute and fun and different. Speaking of Spider-Man, July 2nd, not the 3rd anymore, or not the 3rd, the 5th anymore. It used to be the 5th, but now it's moved up to the 2nd. July 2nd, Spider-Man Far From Home, the final MCU movie of the year, and the epilogue to the Avengers Endgame saga finds Spider-Man still depressed about Iron Man's passing. Spoiler, sorry, but it's been long enough. You should have seen Avengers Endgame by now. And him going on a European vacation with his classmates, where he is trying to start a romance with MJ and enjoy himself as just a regular kid. When Nick Fury finds him and asks him to do a favor for him, where he meets up with a character named Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and also appears to be water and lava elemental creatures. And we learn that Mysterio might be from an alternate timeline, which continues the whole Avengers Endgame saga. So all kinds of things to digest in that. Looks good. Looks like a good epilogue to Avengers Endgame, and a good end cap to this phase of the Avengers world, and start fresh next year with the Black Widow movie, which is now, they're saying, going to take place after Civil War, which makes sense because once Natasha changed sides, she has that scene where she's talking with Tony and she's like, "They're going to come after you," and she's like saying, "Let them try," and then walks away. So that should be fun. And then we see her, where she is in Avengers Infinity War. So we're going to find out what happened between Civil War and Infinity War to get to that point. So that should be a lot of fun to see that. Dave Harbour already cast in that. Emma Watson could be in that as well. There's one other, and it's not 11. No, it's one other actress who's kind of famous right now is going to be possibly in it as well. July 12th was supposed to be Chadwick Boseman's action film, 21 Bridges, but I just got word a couple days ago that they have decided to move it to late September, which I don't know if that's a good idea or if it's the best idea, not to be swallowed up by the summer. But we'll see what happens. It would be good to see Chadwick Boseman play something other than Black Panther, and give him a chance to flex his legs as a action star. We need a good action star. We haven't had a good action star in a while, so it might be a good one to start with. So we get instead, we get Crawl, which is basically a hurricane giant alligator movie. Woman and a man are terrorized by an alligator during a hurricane, giant alligator during a hurricane. So cheesy, schlocky type of horror film. Looks like one of these fun, bad films that sci-fi used to do, so who knows. Then you have Stuber, which, oh shoot, that, then My Spy is also there too. Stuber, I think it's July 26th. What else would there be? I'll figure it out. Stuber, which has a police officer named Dave Bautista who hijacks an Uber, and the Uber driver ends up helping him hunt down a killer. It's a comedy, action, thriller type movie, the likes we haven't seen of in a while. And Dave Bautista is making a case for himself because he's got another movie coming out this summer called My Spy. Now, I don't know if it's going to be July 26th or August 23rd, somewhere in there. They just announced that that was when it was going to be. But I'll tell you that that's another Dave Bautista movie where he plays a CIA operative who's undercover and is made by a young girl. And the young girl says, I won't say anything if you help teach me to be a spy. So it looks like a cute family film as well. So Dave Bautista is making a statement for himself to be an action comedy star a la Arnold Schwarzenegger as well. So we'll see what happens with that. July 19th finds The Lion King live action remake, the second of Disney's two, which should probably make more money than Aladdin, I think, because it is The Lion King. But again, it's not really live action since it's computer generated animals, but still it's The Lion King and people love The Lion King, and it's all musical still. And same with Aladdin, it's a musical also. So you'll get your singing in there as well. And that's the weekend of the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. So I guess, not that it has anything to do with anything, but just letting you know. July 26th has Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I've never been a huge Tarantino fan. I like some of his stuff and not others. I think he's highly overrated. But this film looks really interesting. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and Margot Robbie, and it's their take on Hollywood in the 1960s, and has a deal a little bit with Charles Manson as well. So should be interesting, I suppose. August 2nd brings us Dora and the Lost City of Gold, the live action Dora film. I saw the trailer for that. Looks okay. And then Hobbs and Shaw, the Fast and the Furious spinoff starring The Rock and Jason Statham. Their characters from Fast and Furious spinoff into their own spinoff. They take on Idris Elba, who is the bad guy. Should be interesting. August 9th finds The Kitchen. Three mob wives take over the mob after their husbands are jailed. Tiffany Haddish, Melissa McCarthy, and Elizabeth Moss are the mob wives who take over for the mob. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is a horror anthology that is going to be coming out this summer as well. So horror is a big thing to see during the summer also. So, and this is an anthology, so you get a bunch of little different horror films as well. 8/16 discovers 47 Miles Down Uncaged, the sequel to 47 Miles Down about a woman terrorized by a shark underwater. They get a sequel. The Angry Birds movie 2 also gets a sequel. Comes out on the 16th as well. What is that? Good Boys. Like Seth Rogen produces this adult grown-up story, sort of the Superbad, but for the 12-year-old set, which is kind of weird, being is that they're 12 years old, and it's a Superbad sort of adult humor, rated R type of thing. So we'll see. Where You Go, Bernadette. Richard Linklater directs the movie with Cate Blanchett about a hateful woman who disappears, based on the novel. And finally, summer ends on August 23rd with Angel Has Fallen, the third film in the Gerard Butler Secret Service movie trilogy thing that's slowly makes a good amount of money with that. And he reprises the character again, but this time, instead of defending presidents and stuff like that, he has to defend himself because he's been charged with murder, I think. So that's it for my summer movie preview. I hope you enjoy it. Come back here in about 4 hours and 10 minutes, and I will be doing another live episode of a brand new live episode of Dylan Knows. It's more along the lines of my usual show where I talk about all the news of the week. There's a lot going on, a lot of death, a lot of China talk, a lot of new foods coming out, some interesting stories as well. Stupid people, animals doing crazy things, typical stuff that you get with Dylan Knows. Also, I am contemplating sometime this weekend or in the next few weeks doing a Facebook Live show called something along the lines of a movie review capsule, where I will do a Facebook Live movie review of a movie I've seen. Not too long, 10, 15-minute worth review, where I just try to sell you guys a movie that you guys might not have seen or haven't seen in a while and just give you my take on it. But I'm still working out the logistics on that. We'll see if that happens. But for now, I do have this show. Come back in about 4 hours. Check it out. Should be a fun episode. I'll be in this exact same chair again, except it'll be darker back there. So enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And thanks for watching. And go out and see some summer movies. Summer's just beginning. The heat is starting to build here in Reisterstown. And that means summer is right around the corner. And it truly is. Memorial Day weekend is next weekend. Go out, watch movies.